welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I'm Ryan Eichten, and with me, after a thrilling Game 6 victory that sends the Timberwolves for the third consecutive year into the second round of the NBA playoffs, is Andrew Carlson. Andrew, how you doing?
I don't know. I really don't know. Roller coaster tonight.
Holy cow.
I mean, you go into tonight and it is, well, going into tonight, you didn't even know who was going to play or who wasn't going to play. The Wolves come in as, they were 5.5-point favorites last night.
Underdogs.
Underdogs. Yes, that's how that works. Underdogs. They come in, Kyle Anderson gets put on the injury report, questionable with an illness, who I thought was going to be one of the more important players in this game because of how good he was in Game 5. Iodosumu, late injury report add, never a good sign with calf soreness, even worse sign, which, we can maybe talk about that later looking forward to the next series. But that's something that now the Wolves really have to be delicate about. So those guys get eventually ruled out. Bones Highland's available, and they just go to 7.5-point underdogs. And you're like, yeah, any reasonable person, like you're looking at the Nuggets tonight. Terrence Shannon's starting. You never know how that's going to go. The good thing is that you have the two players who have played the best defense all series still in the lineup. But this is just me thinking out loud, man. That was an insane game. Like I still don't really have the words for it. But this team continues to be gutsy when they need to and come through when they need to. And when you think they're dead in the water, they've done it. They've done this for the last, well, I wouldn't even say 23, 24, because that year you just knew they were going to win every game. The last two
They were down after Game 5, man.
The last 2 years, this team has bounced back and delivered every single time you write their eulogy. Every single time. And tonight was just a perfect example of that because Mr. Jaden McDaniels, best way to put it is he just put his nuts on the table.
Yeah, I mean, you go back, I think it's been 4 years of this. Whenever you think they're down, I thought after the punch game, Jaden punched at the wall, Rudy punches Kyle. I don't think anyone would have. They won that game. They won that basketball game that I just described there. They make the playoffs after that. Well, my story time on this game, 2 years ago, I think everyone listening to this would remember, Wolves going to Game 7 in Denver. That's another example. They lost Game 5 after losing 3 in a row. I don't think anyone thought they were going to win Game 7 and get Game 6 and Game 7 to win that series. But I impromptu traveled out to that game out in Denver 2 years ago. Timberwolves obviously win Game 7, come back from 20. Again, another eulogy for that team at halftime. And I get into the media room, I start writing, and what do I find in the media cooler is a Coors Light from Colorado's own Coors Light. And I take a sip, and it is the sweetest beer I've ever had in my life. So what do I do now at Target Center? I find a Coors Light again. So we're repeating history. A beer, a Coors Light that... what, in a normal circumstances is fairly mediocre.
Oh,
pretty standard.
Generous, I would say.
The top of the bottom of the barrel, right? Like
yeah, it's all the bottom of the barrel at the end of the day.
But it tastes sweet tonight. The Wolves win Game 6, 110-98. Like you mentioned, they had no business winning this game. They had no business winning Game 4. And from a big bit of, given the injuries, they really had no business winning this series anymore. We'll talk about the Nuggets. Oof, they got a lot going on in that locker room, in that organization. But for now, I think the biggest thing and why all of us, myself included, probably should have had more faith that even given the 4 guys that were out, Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, Kyle Anderson, and Iodosumu, that they still had a chance to win this game is because their 2 biggest guys and their biggest advantage in this series were Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert guarding those other 2 Nuggets. And they shut them down, aside from small portions of Game 5 and small portions of Game 1. They shut those guys down in this series from start to finish. And to a certain degree, we all knew that they could do some of that. And we all expected in stretches that they would have good moments. But it was really all series. Like, those 2 guys never got going. And after that, the Nuggets roster just doesn't have enough. When that 2-man game between those guys is stuck, the best offense. Nuggets was the best offense in the NBA. Didn't look like that at any point in this series, really. Obviously, with any series, you can point at who won it, who lost it, or whatever, but it started right there, and that was the advantage, again, that they had tonight. I mean, let's look at this the stat line. Jamal Murray, 4 of 17. The Finch mentioned that, like, none of those 4 were on Jaden McDaniels. To my eye, that matches. And then Nikola Jokic had one of his better games of this series. These last 2 really were probably his best games. But, like, the middle 3 games that the Wolves won, the 3 straight, he was putrid. I'm really on both sides of the court, which is surprising given the offensive player that he is.
Yeah, and definitely give Rudy his flowers, no question about that. But I'd like to focus more on Jaden McDaniels specifically because, Rudy's a defensive star. We know that. His 4 defensive players of the year back that up. Jokic had a couple nice games, and Rudy definitely got the better of him. But Jaden McDaniels completely shut the water off on Jamal Murray. Game 1, Jamal Murray had a nice game. Got to the foul line quite a bit. Games 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every single one of them, Jamal Murray got the water shut off by Jaden McDaniels. Jaden was bigger. He was more rangy. He got over screens. I mean, he got screened probably, I would say when Jamal Murray had the ball in his hand, Jaden was getting screened probably 2 or 3 times every single possession, I would say minimum. What he did this series and culminated tonight in the 4 of 17, and Jamal Murray was minus 18 as well, which I definitely would like to point out. What he did in this series, the guarding, the offense, the talking, specifically the talking, stepping up when his team needed a vocal leader in the locker room, when Ant went down, when Dante went down, he stepped up. I mean, he went and took questions after Game 5. He said they were going to win Game 6 on the podium.
Yep.
In front of everybody. On video. In 4K. And he came out and delivered 32 points and 10 rebounds. That's a star player, man. I don't care what anybody says. That is, if not already a star player, a certain star player in waiting. A developing star player. Someone who can, on this roster, no longer be ignored. He cannot be the guy that plays out of the corner anymore. I know Finch said that about TJ tonight at his post-game press conference. It does not matter who is playing on this team anymore. Jaden McDaniels should not be playing out of the corner anymore. He should be getting his number called multiple times every single game. He should be a 15-plus point a game player in the regular season now. And he has proven every single ounce of that over the last few games. Unbelievable series from him and a coming out party. We'll see how much further he can take this team until Anthony Edwards comes back. He certainly proved that he deserves that shot over the last couple games.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like, this game proves exactly what you're saying, that, like, no longer can Jaden McDaniels just be the guy standing in the corner. And that's probably true of, like, pretty much every player, like you mentioned with Shannon. Like, but moving forward, Jaden McDaniels needs to be at minimum like the third offensive option.
He's the best mid-range scorer on the team by a long shot.
Yeah.
By a long shot. I mean, whenever this team needed a bucket tonight, he went to the mid-range. He had a mismatch every single time, and anything inside of 15 feet was in. And that's largely the case for him even during the regular season. He is the best mid-range scorer on the team at volume. Not close.
And I think this is a perfect example of, this is in the game where he's almost, or at the very least should have been, Denver's number one like focus on defense. Certainly number 2 behind Julius, and just because if you don't pay a little bit extra attention to Julius, he'll put you in the basket. But yeah, like, he's just leveled up really every single season since the punching the wall game, really. And emotionally, I think that's an area of, that edge that he plays with, you want him to bottle that up in the right ways. And you mentioned the talking, that was exactly they're all bad defenders, listing them out. He made them all look bad defenders tonight. There was it's kind of an aside. I gotta go back and look up one of the Sharon Shannon layups. I looked at you like Jokic just like wasn't even like a
Moved out of the way.
yeah, but it wasn't even like obviously there's times where it's just like yeah he's got a head of steam. Either I can foul him or get out of the way, and getting out of the way makes sense sometimes for any player. Like it was like dude, Shannon just like grabbed a loose ball under the rim and put it in. Like let's leave the Nuggets and their oh my god that's gonna be how they acted in Game
It's
5 was so pathetic.
it's truly
Um,
something. Just to your point about Jaden, like he has had progressively better seasons over the last 3 years. Frankly, though, to start this year, I didn't think that was going to be the case. He had a really rough start to the year. He was not good for the first 2.5 months of the season, and then the Giannis trade rumors kind of spark up, and he's clearly impacted by that a little bit, and he has a really bad stretch after the trade deadline. And so, in the interest of not doing revisionist history, he did have his ups and downs, but that's what these type of playoff performances are for. That's what playoff basketball is for. It gives people the opportunity to have these coming out parties and say, like, I'm I'm definitely like I'm here to stay. Like this is now I'm now very much so a third banana on this team. I'd even make the argument that he's probably asserting himself as the second banana on this team. Um, that's what these playoffs are for. And he's doing it, man. 32 points and 10 rebounds. Like all efficient too. It's not like he's not chucking,
mhm.
and 3-point shot, yes, it's hit or miss for him, but he's got offense that he can repeatedly go to when the team needs it. Like down the stretch of this game, when the lead got cut to 1 in the third quarter, he went right back to the mid range. He found his matchup on Jamal Murray, and he went right back to work in the mid range. Fourth quarter, when the Wolves needed offense, yes, Terrence Shannon for sure stepped in and helped that, but Jaden went right back to the mid range. I mean, he is repeatable offense, and his release point is 8 feet off the ground,
Yeah,
so it works.
yeah. The rocking chair shot is always my. That's what I call it. I don't know. Is
It's
that it?
good.
Yeah. He's just so far leaned back. Like if you've ever been, it looks like he's like at that whatever the midway point between leaning back and toppling over in like a chair, or maybe like if you back in school days. I did this once. You lean back in a chair and then you
It's good.
go back too far and I did that in a math class
And
once.
it happens to me as an adult many times. So
Yeah, yeah. I was
I'm a chair
29.
rocker.
But yeah, like that's the Jaden McDaniels shot. He can get it off against anyone, especially when they're guarding him with like Jamal Murray was guarding him for large stretches of this game, and that points to the holes in the Denver roster. But like you mentioned, this is like whatever offseason plans they had for Jaden or next season or the rest of this postseason. Like Jaden just has to be has to be a big part of it, and the biggest stat maybe on this entire sheet might be Jaden McDaniels 0 turnovers. I mean, and as the team, 7 turnovers as the
That's the
team.
ticket. 22 turnover difference. No, that's not good math. 18 turnover difference from last game.
Hmm. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
and the other thing was fast break points were way up. I'm not gonna try to find the little there it is 13 fast break points. Not a ton. I don't. Again, another aside. Fast break points how they calculate them is really poor. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, I'll just kind of go through the stat sheet a little bit. 19 offensive rebounds is
Yeah, that's
insane.
that's the big stat. That's
That
what carried the Wolves. I mean, they were 20-4 in second chance
and
points tonight.
so a good example of that. Nuggets 25 free throws, Wolves 24 free throws. So that's even. That's not the reason for this. The Wolves take an extra 19 field goal attempts in this game, right there. Like
20-4 second chance.
despite that,
That's the difference.
despite the
That's
team
the game.
shooting the same from the field by percentage points, and the Nuggets out shooting the Wolves from three and the free throw line. Despite all of that, the Wolves win this game by 12 because they took 20 nearly 20 more shots. That was like in a big picture sense, that was why they won this game.
And it goes back to the level of effort that this team showed tonight.
So many dig in rebounds, like where the ball is loose and like Shannon or Mike Rudy called Mike's rebounds worth double. So he's like, yeah, he had 6 rebounds, but it's really 12.
But it's true. I mean, they had so many tap outs. They were on every single I would say that they won. They were probably 80-20 and 50-50 balls tonight.
Yeah.
It was very close to that. They just clearly wanted it. And I don't know, it's kind of the question of like, is it because of the circumstances around the game? Is it because it's an elimination game? Because of what happened with Dante? Is it the energy that Terrence Shannon brought? I mean, that's another thing that was a part of this game that
Yeah,
I feel like
let's talk more
definitely
about Shannon.
charged up the entire team. I mean, so there's a few different things there at play that could be a part of it, but this was a completely different team in terms of the level of effort that they were giving on the boards, even different than the first 4 or 5 games
Mm-hmm.
of the series. I mean, it was completely different. Level of defensive intensity stayed there. I mean, this team has always been concentrated through. This team was concentrated essentially throughout the series defensively outside of game one. Um, that was never really the issue. It was the effort on the glass that was a complete 180 from previous games. Rudy has had a decent series on the glass, but no one else to this level. I mean, the guard rebounding has been at an all-time high. Um, and it's everyone kind of chipped in on that. Jaden and Nas together crashing the boards, ripping the ball out of Jokic's hand multiple times. Um, Unparalleled rebounding effort from this team tonight.
And even when they didn't get the rebound, they were all packed in close to the whoever did grab the rebound, usually Jokic, and they were making him like they weren't allowing the outlet pass. So they were doing, and this was early on in the season. The Rockets were doing this really well, and it's kind of a thing that in the NBA has changed a lot. Where in general, if you crash the offensive glass, you're opening yourself up to transition points in the other end, and some teams have figured out how to mitigate that where it's like if you crash enough people or you crash in a certain way, you can prevent just like the ball pressure in near the paint can prevent those offensive rebound or the kickouts on the going the other way, and that's what happened tonight when the Wolves didn't grab, and it just I think like it tired Jokic out. Jokic didn't have they played him the entire second half, I believe, unless they subbed him out. I don't think they did. Like, and to go back to Jaden
Jaden
quick,
played 44 minutes.
Jaden played with 6 seconds shy of 45 minutes.
Essentially 45 minutes.
Yeah, and how much of the 3 minutes and change that he sat was in the first half?
Guy doesn't get tired, man. Like
No.
he doesn't get tired. I mean, there was no signs of him being fatigued at all in the fourth quarter.
No. And Finch did a good job of, although there's one he a classic Finch timeout where they're on the fast break and they call a timeout mid fast break or whatever. But what was interesting is
that was like 4 minutes to go though. That was like an organization.
But I think they were using those. They used all like you can only carry 2 timeouts past the 3 minute mark. They were saving, or they used all of those right at like the 4 minute mark. I think for Jaden as much as anyone. And the reason they had 2 extra timeouts is because, and this is where like the crowd and stuff, Denver just had to call timeouts over and over and over again to stop the Wolves runs. Shannon would get out and run, Jaden would get out and run, and you could just feel the crowd. The crowd was just fantastic in this game.
It was
absolutely willed this franchise, the city, the state with the Wild winning. I guess the Twins won too. That's a kind of I'm a Twins fan, but like the meme with the dragons, where it's like the Wild win their series, the Wolves win their series, and like the derpy dragon is the Wolves beat the Blue Jays 7-1
to go
today.
So 4 games under 500.
Yeah. Oh, shout out Alec Lewis, former Kansas City Royals beat writer. They're in last place. I talked to him about that, but. Let's talk about Shannon, because obviously they don't win this game without Terrence Shannon Jr. 24 points, attacked the paint relentlessly. Obviously, like some stuff you could clean up if you want to nitpick. 1 of 7 from 3. Had a couple just like head scratching turnovers, really just like barreling toward the rim. But like obviously in this spot that would be wrong to talk about that more than. But bigger picture with him in this series, and he's been awful this season, really bad. And trust me, I'll circle back around to a compliment on this.
When he played.
Yeah, when he played this season, he was as bad with like whatever minute limit on the stat. It was like he had the worst net rating in the entire NBA when he was playing, and this was pre going out with foot injury. So you imagine his injury was bothering him, but ultimately, he really didn't play more than a couple minutes of solid play until like the last 3 games of this season, when those are sitting guys and you might as well play TJ, right? And he was really good down the stretch of the season. And even in these playoffs, they tried him game 5 and he was really bad in the first half of game 5. And Finch calls him out. in practice. And a lot of people, maybe even rightly, or maybe not rightly, but fairly, criticize like Finch. Why are we criticizing this guy? And I think Finch has a really good handle on which guys need to be called out publicly, which guys need to get called out privately, all of that type of stuff that we, as media, as fans, have no clue how it works. And as much as I and all of us get frustrated, a good example of this, after game one, I asked Finch, like, Julius didn't have an assist until like the fourth quarter. And I asked him, like, I don't remember exactly what I said, but like the ball movement wasn't there. And I said, like, what does Julius have to do to do that, play make better? And his immediate response was, all of the guys have to play make better. And that was a microcosm of this. Like, Finch just will not call out Julius Randle publicly in the media for, I mean, it's hard to, and with the Shannon thing, it's hard to criticize him on that. Certainly he
Pulls
has
the
more,
right strings, man.
yeah, he pulls the right strings.
Pulls the right strings.
It's not that you can't criticize Finch. It's not that you can't disagree with the decision he makes. I thought that specific answer I said there was crap. I thought that was like Julius in game one was really poor. You don't have to like just, you can say that without even being a big deal. So, but all of that said, Finch pulled the right levers, and Terrence Shannon Jr. was the right. I mean, he had not much of a choice in this game, given the guys that were out. But like, the Finch haters are in a rough one.
I mean, they're quiet. They're essentially quiet. Yeah, man. I just the TJ thing is so interesting because he had that foot issue, and I think a lot of I don't know how much of the early season stuff was due to it, but it clearly was an impact in what he was doing.
Yeah, I had to.
There's just no way. I mean, it's like a true A/B test. Like early in the season, he wasn't even close to the same player. Late in the season, he's a completely different player. He's much more downhill. He's much more comfortable going to the basket. He's not settling for jumpers as much. Um, he changed a little bit as a player. I mean, he is becoming the guy that everybody thought was going to make an impact for this team and be a part in filling the shoes of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He did that tonight. He did that tonight.
Oof.
He was relentless in attacking the basket. I mean, this is I don't know how useful he's going to be in the next series against San Antonio with Wemby. We'll see if the outside shot's going to have to be more consistent if he's going to be a consistent contributor to this team in a series with San Antonio. But folks,
play him in the non-Wemby minutes. I don't know what I mean. Cornette's a solid enough defender.
Wants to attack Luke Cornette, but tonight he did exactly what this team has been setting the tone for all series, and arguably the best one on the team at doing so to date.
Yeah.
And hampered. I mean, other people hampered other things in the series. He was relentless, man. Like, everybody knew what was coming. Christian Braun was on him. Christian Braun knew what was coming.
Some of his buckets weren't even running offense. It was just like
back up. It was street ball. It was literally street ball.
I'm going to run this way. Like the basket's that way. I'm going to run that way.
He took 10 steps backwards, dribbling the basketball, and just charged. And it worked.
And sometimes it didn't work, but
sometimes it didn't. And he drove into a crowd of 4 people and refused to pass the ball sometimes. But on the good side is they knew it was coming and they couldn't stop it largely for the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like typically an NBA team, like you would probably adjust at some point during the game and say, hey man, this guy is really fast. He's 1 for 7 from 3. And it seems like all he wants to do is attack us downhill and get to the basket. Let's wall up on him. And they couldn't do it. They were ineffective at doing so. Even down 5 guys, the Wolves were still the superior athletic team to the Nuggets. They had guys on the floor. They had a TJ, Jaden, Nas, Julius, Rudy lineup. That's nobody under 6'6". Nobody under 6'6" on that in that lineup. All athletes.
Let's talk about
they out athleted him. TJ just with his 24 points, 9 of 20, 8 of 13 inside the perimeter.
Wow. Yeah, let's talk about the big lineup because that was the biggest thing that. Hey, shout out Dane Moore. Been trying to get the three guard or the three big lineup all season. And we finally get it here. And Finch basically he was asked after the game, like, what was that? Was that like what was the decision making on the three big lineup with all three of Nas, Rudy, and Julius? And he was just like, I had to get my best guys on the floor. And that made sense. And I think like obviously like Nas to the three defensively is a potential liability, but the Nuggets don't really have that type of guy to attack that. I mean, like Cam Johnson had a nice game, a really good game, especially like spot up 3-point shooting. But like they don't really have like. Here's a good example. If Nas Reed had to guard Jaden McDaniels, like that'd be not. Jaden would go right by him or Shannon or whoever. But I admire Finch. All season has been hesitant to go to that lineup. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the minutes have been double digit. Like not very many minutes.
56 minutes together
total?
during the regular season.
The entire regular season.
The entire regular season, 56. And part of that is probably to maybe preserve some of your front court depth, you know, to try and stagger them a little bit more. Also use Rudy probably in more spread out situations, I would imagine, to kind of keep him fresh. I mean, you don't want to just blow everybody in one shift. So I would imagine that was probably part of the reason, but the proof doesn't lie. 104 defensive rating, 126 offensive rating, 21 net rating. In 56 minutes this year.
I mean, they had no choice. They had to go to it. Bones didn't have a good game, plays shy of 9 minutes. I thought Jalen Clark, in my head, he played more than the 12 minutes that are on this stat sheet.
Vikings need to give Jalen Clark a look, man. I'm not kidding.
We were talking about with Alec Lewis of the Athletic, he's like, yeah, that guy's a football player.
He is.
Yeah, and he said, going back to media day, he said he watches Patrick Surtain clips to like in the moving your hips aspect of like being a cornerback in the NFL.
Huge.
And yeah, so and you can still tell like he's learning like how to defend different types of guys differently. Like the guys that are good at foul drawing, you can't guard the same way as the guys that try to get to the rim or shooting threes or like all that type of stuff.
And he's a 0 on offense, but the thing is
hit a 3
and a 0. And in this series, but in like that's just the thing about this game. Is it was one game. This series, this rotation obviously does not beat the Nuggets in a 7-game series.
Nope.
Tonight, you had enough bodies to throw at Jamal Murray. You had enough bodies to throw at Nikola Jokic and wear them down. And Jalen Clark was a huge part in throwing bodies at Jamal Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you imagine you're Jamal Murray, you're getting beat up by Jaden McDaniels. Jaden leaves the floor, gets switched on to somebody else, and in comes Jalen Clark, who just wants to Oklahoma drill.
Oh, I mean, the heating packs are shaking their boots, like legitimately. Like, and that's I mean bigger picture. Like that type of defense has really been missing from the Wolves for a couple seasons now, and they don't have like the same perimeter defense. Like the defense in this series,
it gets reffed out of it during the regular season too, though. Like this type of perimeter defense doesn't really fly in the regular season.
No, but like I'm saying, like the game 2 out in Denver 2 seasons ago was an all timer.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
one was even Rudy was out with the birth of his child that night. But yeah, let's talk about Rudy a little bit more. I mean, he was just again like, look, Jokic shoots 11 of 19. If you're looking up the stat sheet, I mean. Offensively, Jokic was really, really good tonight. Offensively, Jokic gave them enough to win. There's another side of the floor for that guy, but we'll leave that for our final segment here, our final segment of crap on the Nuggets. We'll do that later. But Rudy, just the entire series, I didn't think this was possible. And maybe Jokic is hurt, or maybe Jokic, like, I didn't think anyone could hold Jokic like this. And he did the entire series. And even like a game like tonight, Jokic shoots well, scores a bunch of points, gets his assists. But like ultimately, like that's a Hall of Fame defensive performance. That's a Hall of Fame. I mean, Rudy Gobert's in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what people
first ballot, not even a question.
Yeah, what would people have to see? What people like?
Not a question.
Yeah,
4 defense player of the years.
And Rudy, I think, is just like a permanent. As long as he's playing like this, and I think this is the best. Last season, last playoffs, I think, aside from the the Game 5 to seal the Lakers series, which he was sensational in. He had a very poor playoffs, and I think it brought up a lot of questions about how can you be if like is he going to continue? Was this one bad series or was this the start of a downfall? And if Rudy's going to be back to like I mean, I'll say I think. I mean, we'll see. We'll talk about Wemby plenty in the coming weeks here, thankfully. But aside from Wemby, I believe Rudy's the best defender in the world.
And they needed proof of concept for Rudy on the short roll. I know that there was a little
8
bit of that.
assists, man.
I know that there was a little bit of that during the regular
He
season.
led them in assists. No one had more than 5 except for Rudy Gobert.
I mean, not to be that guy, but with Ant out, there's more consistent Rudy short roll playmaking now. Like Ant just doesn't like to go to that when he plays. And so with Jaden kind of heading up things and Mike being very eager to give the ball to Rudy on the short roll, like there is consistent proof of concept now and how that can work. And so, yes, Rudy's been sensational on the defensive end. There's no question about that. And specifically, too, for him, what I've been impressed with is his one-on-one defense. He's always been the guy who's just kind of made his hay roving the paint and playing drop and his one-on-one defense was sensational, not just on Jokic, but like ISO, Aaron Gordon game 1, game 2. He's getting switched. He got switched on to some guys. His just filling holes wherever he needs to in the defensive scheme, rotating really well. I thought the Wolves just overall as a team, their rotations were really good in the last 3 games. Really good. Best rotations that they've had all year, even last year too. Like just connected. Rudy's a big part of that. But yeah, offensively, I mean they've unlocked him. They really have. I mean this is the best Rudy Gobert will ever be as an offensive player, because they have found his area where he's comfortable playmaking. I wouldn't trust Rudy playmaking from the elbow. I wouldn't want him posting people up, but off of screens, that gives the ball handler an instant decision. Do I shoot this wide open jumper or do I give it to him on the short roll and he's able to play make out of that and find an open corner shooter? Like that can, if continued to be trusted, and Rudy continues to make the right decision, which again, he's not a robot. He's going to have bad games with that. That can be unstoppable offense.
Did he fumble a pass this entire series? Because if he did, I don't remember it.
I don't think so.
That's impressive.
It's been very few and far between. There's proof of concept there now with him. And I hope that Ant's watching. I hope Ant sees that. And I hope that Ant is not as reluctant to give it to him after the initial screen. Because Ant is the only person now that is an offender of this. And it really takes air out of the offense when you know what's going to happen.
To Ant's credit, in game 1, that was a really good Rudy Gobert short roll game, and Ant was a giant part of that. So I think from the regular season, you're absolutely right. Like Ant is just due to him having the ball the most, is the biggest offender of like shunning Rudy, to use a poor word, shunning Rudy out of the offense. But even in this playoffs, like Ant has done a better job of, and it kind of went away from in game 2, but also Ant's best game in the series, and really only quality game due to the injuries in the series was that game 2. So yeah, I do think Ant can, if and when he comes back, should say when he comes back. The if is the percent. The if is to what extent he comes back. I think he'll give it a go in this series. I mean, I think the worry coming into this night when Io gets ruled out, when Kyle goes out with sickness, is like what I just worried about is like to Finch's. What if this is Finch's words? Like they did not try during the regular season. He said that after game 4. Like they didn't take it seriously enough, and that's a off-season discussion of how important that fact is, but they just didn't. And now, like obviously even coming into the night, like they had the series under control through the first 4 games, and the injuries affect that. But the worry was like, we aren't going to even learn anything about this team. Their grade for the season is just going to be incomplete. Like they didn't try during the regular season. They played well enough to like play well against Denver, but the injuries, and to a certain extent that still exists, but like I think we've gotten to the point where we've learned a lot about this team, what works, what doesn't. Shannon, obviously. Um, Lastly, on the Wolves side, last guy we haven't talked about. Well, there's a couple, but I thought Julius Randle had a good night. Better than the 6 of 17 shooting would allude to. Better than the team high 4 turnovers would allude to.
A lot of those Julius misses were threes too. I feel like he
2 of 5, and some of them were like he missed a bunch of chippies under
yeah.
the basket. We're not going to talk about this, but I thought if there was a player that the officials didn't give the benefit of the doubt to in this game, Julius Randle's probably at the top of that list.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think that Julius did enough for them to win. He carried them offensively in a lot of portions of this game, which we all knew like he was going to need to do that in large stretches of this game. My assumption was that they were going to need like an all-timer from Julius to really like a proof, like what we got from Rudy, more or less, like a proof of concept team. We didn't get that, but hard to poke holes with Julius's game tonight.
Yeah, thought he was like I thought he was he didn't stand out, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's really all you needed. It wasn't, oh my gosh, he's clearly not jogging back on defense.
Defense, he was solid. I mean,
he's down complaining on the other end, and he's walking because he's disappointed.
None of that.
Like none of that stood out. Like he didn't stand out, and that's all you need.
None of that since game one. Game one, there was a lot of that, and since then, and that going back to my point about not caring about the regular season, that's what Finch said after game 4. It was like they lied to us. Game 1 was the same, and since then, Julius was as top among them has not. I mean, no one really played well in game 5 or whatever, but like certainly the 4 games they won, Julius on the defensive end was what the Wolves needed from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just good enough offensively. I think he also too, he did a really nice job throwing his body around underneath the basket. I think he freed up a lot of room for rebounding and getting
only 4 rebounds from him doesn't match the eye test.
It was like he was almost like setting screens for people to come in and grab rebounds. I mean, he was really important down there. He's such a big dude that like when he's able to go throw his weight around a little bit, that can make a lot of difference just by generating gravity on the blocks. And so he was awesome tonight. I don't have a ton on Julius just because it was just such a big Jaden, TJ, Rudy game.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can get a game from Julius where he's doesn't stand out, that's all you need, because there will be games where he does stand out, like in a good way. Like these games are important, you know, when you're able to put TJ on the scouting report and you put Jaden on the scouting report and you put things that Rudy does on the scouting report now, it's different. And so that's why this stuff is important. And so just moving forward, Julius Randle will have maybe one of these positive games where he stands out a little bit.
Thinking about the San Antonio match, if you remember from the regular season, Ant hits the game winner. Wemby's guarding him on the switch, and then Julius, I believe, is the one that sets the screen to get Wemby off of Ant, who hits the floater over whoever Julius's defender was to win the game. The game they went 2-1 against the Spurs. One of the wins was Wemby was up, and like that's the type of stuff, like just the little stuff. I thought he did the little stuff tonight. Maybe rewatch disagrees with that. That'll be something to look into. But yeah, Julius plus 15. Only Jaden at plus 16 was higher. Obviously, plus minus is a loud stat that doesn't always, like Mike's -1. I thought he was good tonight. Lastly, Naz Reid off the bench, 7 of 13 from the field, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Like another kind of similar to Julius, gave them exactly what they needed with other guys taking the mantle. And I thought the defense, which can be up and down with Naz, there's a couple miscommunications with the Jokic screens where Jokic kind of got rolling to the rim for easy buckets. But other than that, they got what they needed from Naz, especially given what everyone else did on the roster.
I'll be a broken record with him and Julius, like crucial in the offensive rebounding game. And I also thought that Naz had the floater working tonight as well, which he doesn't. That's not something that I feel like he features prominently a lot. But tonight was specifically a game where I thought he had the floater working and was able to kind of catch Jokic in some difficult positions. And Valanciunas, for that matter, too, who has bad feet objectively. So yeah, I mean, he ran a lot of screen, like a lot of pick and rolls, like as the ball handler. He initiated some offense too. I thought that was an interesting wrinkle from Finch, how he was able to use Naz's ball handling and playmaking and that skill to kind of get things rolling and free up guys off the ball. So yeah, no, I thought Nas was very useful. No Nas Reed game, no towel waving because he scored 30 points,
Mm-hmm.
but this was an effective Nas Reed game. And I think this is, no matter who's in the lineup, this is something I'd like to see from Nas moving forward. Let's see a little bit more ball handling. Let's see some big-to-big pick and rolls. Let's get a little creative with that because it can especially with the Spurs, with Wemby and whoever is going to be with his front court partner throughout the course of a game, you can put them in some tough spots and you can get guys moving and cutting to the basket off of that. So something I'd like to see maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. Lastly, on the Wolves, going back, Rudy leading the team with 8 assists. I'm very excited tomorrow. I will be doing this. We'll be cutting up all 8 of those Rudy assists and posting them.
That one that he wrapped it around.
Yes,
the one into the corner.
The one that ended up with Shannon's lone 3-pointer was kind of maybe the moment, like you think back to Game 7 when Rudy hits the jumper and it's like, oh, they're gonna win this game.
That was nasty.
That was kind of that nasty assist. He's just been. Rudy Gobert was the best player in this series, and that was with Jokic, who's one of the 20 greatest players of all time in this series, and Rudy fucking Gobert.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like that is
not Jaden. I thought Jaden was the best player in the series, man. I'd give him MVP for the Wolves.
The defense alone on Jokic is just worth.
It's right there. But hey, man, Jay McDaniels threw the shackles on an All-Star too.
Jokic, but calling Jokic an All-Star, I think undersells
how
good that guy is.
I get what you're saying. My MVP is McDaniels, but I would put Gobert right behind him.
Well, they got Nikola Jokic, we got Jay McDaniels. A quote that lives in infamy, and I guess what we're hoping for is they got Victor Wembanyama, we got Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
Before we wrap this up, I want to talk about the Nuggets. Because I thought, excuse my language, I thought they were chicken shit in this series from top to bottom. This was a unbelievably pathetic outing for this team. Which obviously good for the Wolves, but they just never had it. Outside of game 1, this team just never had it from the beginning, and Jokic wasn't good enough, Jamal Murray wasn't good enough, their coaching staff wasn't good enough, and they have a lot to think about. And these last 2 wins that the Wolves had, I don't know how you look yourself in the face after these type of losses, especially the fight, which was just and Jokic had another moment tonight pushing Clark. The fact that the Wolves got 2 techs and Jokic only got 1 from that is kind of insane. That the Nuggets got a free throw off of that is that's crazy to me. But
I think the double tech was the right. Nas got in there and mixed it up a little bit.
Right, but then why did Clark get a tech? Like, why did the Wolves get the extra tech?
They were mixing it up. Keep the game on a tilt.
Yeah, I think about this team, and I think this Nuggets team is going to look a whole lot different next season.
100%.
Maybe the coaching staff, certainly the roster. And I think back to, obviously, we don't need to touch on the sports radio aspect of it, the bloggers aspect of it. Sorry to use a cuss word there with the word blogger, but their attitude in Game 5 was insane to me. Specifically, Christian Brown dunking, hanging on the rim, and pointing, and then to come out this whole team with this type of effort, with this type of, I just think this whole series was a referendum on the Nuggets, was a proof of concept for the Timberwolves. One of these teams was sharp and soft. The minute any sort of adversity hit the Nuggets, they wilted, and the Wolves, with countless steps of adversity in this series, immediately responded every single time. And I think that's as impressive as it is, and for the Nuggets, a lot of soul searching for that organization. I mean, they should have won this series after the injuries.
100%.
They should have won this game.
100%.
And I think the best example is that they couldn't win a single game inside Target Center. That's a credit to the Wolves, and that's especially a credit to the fans, who the attendance has been down this year. Certainly not blaming the fans on that, but the atmosphere.
Unbelievable atmospheres.
During the regular season was not where you'd want it.
Correct.
And these 3 playoff games was exactly where you want it.
Money.
And the San Antonio series, it'll be like that again. And especially if the Wolves are very likely without Ant, the 2 first games in San Antonio, if not more, the Wolves are able to get a split there somehow. Game 3 on, if I can do math, Monday. What if Friday night? Friday, Sunday is game 3 and 4. Friday night, if the Wolves are tied 1-1 going into that game, it is going to be an absolute madhouse.
Yeah, the Nuggets have a lot of searching to do. I think they need to get more athletic. They need more Peyton Watsons, which is easier said than done, but they need more people like him. Um, they need more big bodies that they can switch and not be as exposed on defense. They need better ball handling. I mean, Tyus Jones is a fine player.
Tyus was good tonight.
Tyus is a fine player. Um, but he should not be your solve for Jamal Murray having issues.
Yep.
Um, they need better ball handling. I would be surprised if Jamal Murray is a Nugget next year. I would be.
So that's the big question. I mean, the first big question is
if I'm the Nuggets, I'm blowing it all up around. I'm keeping Jokic is the only player who I'm not trading. Peyton Watson.
and the first big question for them is Jokic is extension eligible. The assumption would be that, and probably a fair one, that he'll sign that extension. If he does, then like you said,
he's the only one you're not touching. Peyton Watson likely too. But even then,
Peyton Watson's not under contract. Peyton Watson's a free agent.
If someone offers, you try and resign him.
No, I get it. Yeah.
If someone offers you gives you a Godfather offer for Peyton Watson, you look at
it's the same reason why I would assume it will very likely be on the Wolves. Like
yes.
That's just how this NBA works.
Yes, Jokic is the only player you're not touching. And as a matter of fact, if I'm the general manager of Denver, John Wallace, who former Timberwolves exec.
Aspiration planted fake trees. There's gonna be an extra influx of horses into Serbia.
You go. All right. Let's see what we can do to get a little bit more around Jokic.
Yeah.
I mean, you just not more. It's more athleticism because their lack of athleticism showed. Aaron Gordon cannot be the reason that you lose a series as someone who's one of the better offensive teams of the last couple of years. Like that cannot be the reason that you lose a playoff series to a team that's a 6 seed and down 5 guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gordon is a gigantic loss for them,
but it can't be that. It can't be the reason, you
right?
Know what I mean?
And Peyton Watson like that combo of people. If the Wolves were fully healthy in this series, that would obviously be a fair retort.
The Wolves started Terrence Shannon Jr. tonight and closed them out. I'm not.
And he was their second leading scorer.
5 guys, man. They were down 5 guys and they closed this series out.
You lose all sort of. Yeah, I mean, you lose all sort of benefit of the doubt when that's the case.
You cannot run even close to this iteration of the Nuggets back next year. And if I'm Jokic, like, I would maybe leave the contract on the desk for a little bit until you see a blueprint of how we can move this thing forward. Like David Adelman, you take a hard look there, I think, as well.
He got booed in Game 5. That's rough. That's bad.
I think it's fair to maybe, if you're making big wholesale roster changes, I don't know if it's fair to let him go, and clearly your roster is very flawed. But there's definitely going to be a hard look there.
The parallels to Ryan Saunders are unfortunately there for Adelman. And the one parallel I would point out to that is that while Ryan Saunders was not a successful head coach in his time with the Timberwolves, the rosters during that time that Ryan was given, no one would have been successful. And obviously, Adelman coaches his team 1 game shy of the Western Conference Finals last year, and they won 50-something games with an incredibly injured roster this year. And so in that breath, Adelman did a good job, right? Like I think to call him anything like a terrible coach would be wrong. But I think there's far too many with similar to Ryan Saunders, who got a bad. There was no way Ryan Saunders was ever going to be successful with the rosters that they gave him. And to a certain extent, the same thing happens with the Nuggets here, where they handed this guy a flawed roster, and unfortunately he wasn't a good enough. He didn't make the right adjustments to overcome that. But
I agree, but then and that's why I say I think that maybe it does, because of the nature of the roster, to give a coach a little bit more of a runway. I mean, at what point do you become Phoenix, right? Where you're running through coaches like toilet paper because they're not doing
Milwaukee too. Yeah.
When you have an incredible, Milwaukee's another great example where you clearly have a flawed roster, because then you start becoming just a straight up dysfunctional organization. You become the organization that gets a reputation of not giving coaches. You're not going to attract good coaches because you have a reputation of not giving coaches the proper runway. So I do think maybe
Milwaukee, with Giannis, is probably the biggest red flag for the Nuggets.
Horrible.
Is you can't do that. You already sent the pick away.
Hmm.
I don't believe like those. So the Wolves first round pick unlocks. They can trade their 2033 this offseason. I think the Nuggets are now have to wait another year to trade a draft pick, because the one they sent out for the Cam Johnson for Michael Porter Jr. swap. Um, so they're out of they don't have assets to really. I don't know what they do.
It's hard. It's hard. I get the argument for, yeah, you got to fire Adelman, but I think you just have to be really careful with that stuff. I do. I think you have to approach those situations with kid gloves, especially like you said. I mean, they won 57 games, right? Like that's not nothing. He clearly had a flawed roster in the playoffs. They they were a game away from beating Oklahoma City in the playoffs last year. I thought David
I
Adelman coached a good playoffs
And
last
maybe they
season.
win if Gordon is healthy, and
Yep.
obviously that's a gigantic if with his career, unfortunately. But like, yeah, I they they thrust him into a tough spot last year with firing Malone. What, like 2 weeks before?
In like April
It
sometime.
was like a week left. It was, and he did. I like last season. I don't know how he did a great job.
Hmm.
And obviously, the entire coaching staff deserves credit for that. But like, I don't know how you can say anything but he had a poor series.
100%. I think that, and I think he would maybe say that too. I don't think there's really
And
anybody
if you
who would.
watch his press conferences, he's been getting snippy with the Denver media, which is not the greatest look.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think. I think two things are true, right? I think two things are true here. Where this roster has to look very different. I think there is at the same time, if you're going to shake the roster up, keeping some level of stability there. And if it doesn't work out next year, it doesn't work out next year. But I just don't think you don't want to start the reputation of being the one to fire coaches when things start to maybe go a little bit sideways, especially after winning 57 games. The only time that that's really worked out was Toronto with Nick Nurse
Yeah.
and Dwayne Casey.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's probably enough Nuggets talk. That's on me for wanting. I just wanted to complain about them. I thought they were terrible.
That makes sense.
That the players
I
were
don't blame
just
you.
were. I thought it
I
was
don't
an
blame you. It
after.
also sucks to see that from Jokic, man, because I actually I love Jokic. I really do. Like I genuinely love Jokic. He's a super fun game, and to just see him kind of fly off the handle was really disappointing. It really was. He's a funny guy. He's got a good personality. Even his quote after the game tonight about like, well, if we were in Serbia, everybody would be fired. Like he's a funny guy, and he's a really good player, and he's super fun to watch. Just sucked to kind of see him fly off the handle in this series.
It did, and it was also extraordinarily fun. To for the second time in 3 years to eliminate that team. But yeah, like I thought their fan base, especially after Game 5, like kind of like the gloating. I was like, dude, the Wolves already won the. And if you remember, I think it was Game 1 2 seasons ago. There's that meme of Aaron Gordon has gotten into Cat's head. They're winning the mental battle. Was the meme? If you do you remember?
Well, I remember.
Since then, the Wolves mentally have outdone this Nuggets franchise, and the Minnesota Timberwolves have. There's a good chance if the Wolves don't come back from 20 down, that the Nuggets win that second straight title after that. Maybe not. Maybe Boston was very, very good that year.
Yeah, it'd
Um,
be hard to see, but they'd make the championship.
I think they beat.
They
I
beat
think.
Dallas.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Maybe not. Maybe it was similar to the Wolves, like the two teams just beat the crap out of each other, and that to be honest, there's a half decent chance that's what the Wolves are facing next round in San
Very
Antonio.
well could.
There'll be plenty of time to break down that series, but yeah, an incredibly fun series, twists and turns. I thought they were dead midway through Game 2. They rescue the season from there. They win all 3 games at Target Center to close out the series. But Andrew, anything to plug with your writing from here?
I might be writing here in the next couple days. I also just need sleep, man.
Yep.
It's a lot of
What
late.
time are we at?
Let's see,
2 a.m.
we're
Let's
at
go.
1:55. Yeah, I mean it's been a lot of late tip offs. It's been a lot of fun. I would not trade this series for anything else. It's been fun basketball to watch. It's been fun basketball to follow. It's been fun basketball to cover. But these have become consistent this series, and I need sleep.
Yep.
So I'll probably write something here in the next couple days, but take a little bit of time, watch some of the other series wrap up, and see where we go from here.
Yep. Timberwolves have made the playoffs 5 straight seasons and now have won a first round season series 3 straight seasons. The only team to do that potentially is the Boston Celtics. If the Sixers beat them in Game 7, the Wolves will be the only team to make the playoffs 5 straight years and be in the second round all in the last 3 of those. An unprecedented level of success for this organization. And like I said earlier, this is a proof of concept for this entire organization, this series. regardless of what happens moving forward. And I just hope, as we have enjoyed this game, this series, I really hope people on this Thursday night, with like the Wild winning 2 against the franchise that used to be here. I think that's meaningful too. I don't really care about hockey, but when Dallas started to rub that fact in the Minnesotans' face, I saw it. I was allergic to it.
Enjoy this stuff.
This was as good of a Minnesota sport, and shout out to again Derby Dragon Twins win over the Blue Jays 7-1. Shout out, a really good as a Minnesota sports day as we've had, and I pulled up the odds. The Wolves are heavily underdogs. If 11-1 for the Wolves to win this series or this that doesn't matter. Enjoy this. Enjoy the Twitter beef. Enjoy listening to Nuggets Sports Radio tomorrow. Enjoy it all. And when the season ends, then we can do the retrospective. But for now, like you mentioned, we're all tired. We'll sleep when we're dead, and that's what the Nuggets are doing instead of the Timberwolves tonight. Well, for Andrew, I'm Ryan. Thank you everyone for listening. Leo and I will be back later this week to preview the San Antonio series. But thank you everyone for listening. Go Wolves.
Hey, you!